Hi friends, we are still in chapter 6 and right now we're looking at section 6.2 and we're going to talk about unit rates. Our vocabulary for today, we've got two terms. They are rate and unit rate. A rate is specifically a ratio of two quantities having different kinds of units. So I could talk about the possibility of saying, well, I could run or I'd like to run 10 miles and I'd like to be able, that looks like a 16. I could run 10 miles and I could do that in, let's say, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. I don't think I can do that. But let's say I could. I can run 10 miles in 2 hours, right? So what that would be saying for me is that, or what that's really creating is that that creates a ratio 10 to 2, and notice that the units are different, miles to hours. When it comes down to the concept of unit rate, a unit rate is when the rate is simplified such that the denominator is 1. Here's what I want you to realize. If I can take my 10 miles per hour, or I'm sorry, 10 miles per 2 hours and change it to miles per hour, I've now created a unit rate because that denominator is 1. And so the unit rates we're often used to, and they're really helpful. So they're helpful for later on calculations. So if I were to change this to a unit rate, what I'm going to end up doing is dividing the top and bottom by the denominator. Right? And when I do that, I make sure and get a denominator of 1. So now I'm dealing with 1 hour, and then 10 divided by 2 gives me 5 miles. So now you can see my unit rate, or if I'm looking at my rate or my desired rate of running, it will be 5 miles per hour. Let's take a look at some examples. Example 1, it says find the unit rate. We're going to express the rate as a unit rate and round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So in this example, we're given that we've got $11 for 4 boxes of cereal. So I'm going to write this first as a fraction, $11 over 4 boxes. So I see I've got two different units I'm dealing with. We get it. And now I want to compare. I want my denominator to be 1. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 4. So now what I'm thinking about is, okay, instead of knowing the price for 4 boxes of cereal, I want to know the price for 1, the unit rate. And so in the denominator, I have 1 box. And in the numerator, I'm going to have to divide 4 into 11. So I can take my time and do that. Divide 4 into 11, 4 goes into 11 2 times, subtract my 8. You remember this, guys? Drop my 3, put my decimal here. That's really a 0, my little friends. Put my 0 here, 4 goes into, oh, this looks pretty bad. Let me do better, hold on. All right, so here's a better setup. 4 goes into 11 as we know. Let's get this 2 down here. 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. When I subtract, I'm left with 3, which lets me know 4 can't go into that, so I did it enough times. But 4 can go into, let's drop this 0. Boom. 4 can go into 30, but this is a decimal, so we're looking at 4 going into 30. It goes 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract, we've got 2, less than 4, we feel good, we know we're doing it right. 4 goes into 20 5 times, and so stick a fork in us, we are done. Sorry for the violence. So 2.75, what does that refer to? That refers to $2.75 per box. However, let's go back to the question, because sometimes we need to really make sure and pay attention to what's being asked of us. We were asked to round our answer to the nearest tenth if necessary, and so the 10th place is this guy here. So if we're going to round this in the nearest tenth, what would it be? Hopefully you guys remember, we never go down. We either stay the same at that particular place and we look to the next place and decide whether we're going to go up or stay the same. And this 5 is going to tell us to go up. So the actual answer to this is 2.8 per 1 box. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to give us some space here and we're going to take a look at the next example. Okay, so our example, in this second part of the example, we have 400 miles on 14 gallons of gas, right? I didn't put gas here, but I'm assuming this is gas. So we can travel 400 miles on 14 gallons. We're going to write this as a fraction, 400 miles. MI is the abbreviation for miles, and 14 and GAL is the abbreviation for gallons. So we're going to divide the top and bottom by 14, and the easy part is handling our denominator. So it makes sense. We're going to figure out how far we can travel on 1 gallon given this rate. And so this requires division. Obviously, we can do long division. We've practiced it a lot. I am allowing you to use the calculator. And so in the spirit of that, I'm going to pull up a calculator for myself. And this happens to be the answer because I did it before, but I'm going to clear it off and do it again. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in 400 and we're going to divide that by 14. Not 4, but 14. Let's clear that off. Let's do 400 again, and we're going to divide it by 14. And when we do so, we get this value. Now, remember what we were supposed to do. Even when you are using your calculator, you want to be mindful of following the directions. First of all, does this make sense? Does the 28 this 28 miles per hour makes sense? I did this problem before using the calculator because I do want to talk about calculator use in our class. And when I did it, I made a mistake, and I think I did 400 and I divided by 4 and I got the answer 100. You have to know that your answers make sense. So when you're looking at this, you should think about a ballpark answer of what you think you should get. Anyway, so with that said, we also want to follow directions. So I'm looking at this, we've got 28.57. And we know that we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So my answer, instead of being 28.57, will be 28.6. Right? So 28.6 miles per gallon. Let's move on to another example. Another really good thing about unit rates is it helps you compare. I think about unit rates when I go to the grocery store all the time. When you see one item at one price and the same thing, but maybe a different quantity at another price, you want to be able to calculate that unit rate. And oftentimes in many grocery stores, they actually put it there next to the price. They'll do price per ounce. And so you can better calculate whether buying that bigger bottle makes sense. Anyway, in this case, we're going to talk about buying online music. So in example 2, we have one online music store. Let's call it Store A. Let me get my pen back. We can call it Store A. Store A will, for $12 at Store A, online music Store A, you can get 15 songs. And at Store B, for $9, you can get 10 songs. Okay, and what we're really going to do is, and this is a real life situation, right? You want to know which one is the better deal. So I hope you recognize that the best way to do it is to figure out how much you're paying per song. And because I'm thinking about how much I'm paying per song, I'm putting songs in the denominator because I want to know the price per one song. I could have changed this and had the money in the denominator, but then I'd be figuring out how much of a song am I getting for $1. You can use that for comparison, but it's not convenient, I don't think. And I think it makes a little bit more sense to think about, okay, well, how much does one song cost? All right, so we're going to do like we've been doing. I'm going to take this ratio 12 over 15. I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 15 in order to get the unit rate. When I do that, my denominator is 1. 12 divided by 15 is going to give me 0.8, and that lets me know that for one song it costs me 0.8 of $1 or 80 cents, right? Because that's in the tens place, 80 cents. All right, and then so over here we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my ratio. I'm going to divide top and bottom by 10. The denominator is 1, and the numerator, well, 9 divided by 10 is 0.9, and then so it's going to cost me 90 cents per song in this situation. So with this in mind, I'm going to put my $sign here, and I'll put my song down here just to keep my units in order. With this in mind, you realize what the best rate is, and it's from Store A. So which online store has the lower cost per song? It is Store A. All right, let's look at another example, guys. Okay, in example 3, we're going to use unit rates, and we have a typical dolphin takes about 34 breaths in 4 hours. How many breaths can the dolphin take in 7 hours? Notice this problem is not asking you specifically to find the unit rate, but what I'm letting you know is that finding the unit rate will be really, really helpful in working through this problem. So let's take a peek. So we have 34 breaths, and those breaths are taken in 4 hours. And so what we want to know is about how many breaths are taken in 7 hours. So I'm actually going to put a little question mark here, put breaths breaths and put 7 hours, just so I have in the back of my mind what I'm looking for. So what I need to do is I am going to find the unit rate, because when I find the unit rate, I can figure out how much or how many breaths are taken in 1 hour, and then I can kind of move that over to 7 hours pretty simply by a little bit of multiplication. So I am going to divide the top and bottom by 4, and when I do that, I'm given 1. For every 1 hour, there are 8.5. I hope you see that 8.5 breaths taken by the dolphin. So how does that help us with this? Well, just as we figured out that to create an equal ratio, 34 over 4 is the same as 8.5 over 1, we divided the top and bottom by the same thing. We know that to create equal fractions, also known as ratios, right, we can multiply the top and bottom by the same thing. So what do I need? So here's the question of the day, right? What do I need to move from 1 hour to 7 hours? Well, obviously I'm going to multiply by 7. If I do it down below, I got to do it up top. So I'm going to multiply 8.5 times 7, and when I do, I'm going to put this here, 59 and a half, 59.5 breaths. So what this tells me is that I can often use unit rate, start off with the rate, go to the unit rate, and then I can calculate practically anything. So 59 breaths in 7 hours is how many breaths a dolphin can take given 7 hours. Okay, that's pretty much it. Don't turn me off yet. Obviously, you see your assignment here. I also want to clue you into using IXL to your advantage. If you want to practice some more of these concepts, let me see if I can scooch this over a little bit so you can see. This is just an example problem, and I'm in my IXL account. I can't do it, can I? No, I cannot. I cannot, children. I cannot change while I'm in the... Oh, there I can. I moved it. Aren't you proud? All right, so you guys can go to IXL. All I did is I just typed in unit rate right here, and they came up with some unit rate problems. So if you want to go to IXL, don't forget that you have your account. Don't forget you have the opportunity to use it and to do some more math practice. All right, I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.